This is 12 News Now. I'm Paige Messier. 911 services are down in Massachusetts, according to state officials. A public service alert was sent out around 2:30 Tuesday afternoon. People in Massachusetts are urged to contact their local departments directly in an emergency situation. We have reached out to the Massachusetts State 911 Department, but have not yet heard back. We'll keep you updated both on air and online.
Thank you so much for being here. We are never a dull moment, and we just wanted to start actually with a notification that currently the statewide 911 system is down and calls are not going through. We've been in touch with the state and with all the relevant officials to work on getting this resolved.
Welcome everyone to the Wake Up Call channel. This is the new normal. 20 years ago, you would never ever hear anything like this. You would never hear that 911 was down statewide. But ever since we started seeing movies like The Purge and Leave the World Behind, we've been seeing stories like this out in the open. It's becoming more normal, almost like they know ahead of time what they're going to do to all of us, right? And what better way to cause chaos than to have 911 shut off so that people who are in an emergency, let's just say during something like a heat dome, or as they like to call it, a heat dome, just a normal heat wave, well, nobody will be able to contact emergency services, right? How convenient, because a few months ago, I covered this same exact story. Major 911 outages in 4 states left millions of people without a way to contact local authorities. And this is the type of stuff that they do to condition you into a future of AI governance. Because remember, you're not going to have 911 in the future. You're not going to have humans available to help you in the future. But for now, of course, as this government continues to create chaos, which is their motto, order out of chaos around us, they can tell us that there's things like heat waves going on, and they can tell us there's things like cybersecurity threats, and then they could just shut off power grids, and they could shut off the ability to call 911. But what's ironic about all this stuff is we've seen it before in movies, plot of movies, many times. But 50 years ago, if I told you that you were trying to call the police because of an emergency, people would say it's absolutely insane that you wouldn't be able to reach the police. But now it's becoming normal. So the story today, as this heat wave is occurring, they haven't given us their fictional explanation yet, but 911 is down in the entire state of Massachusetts. The entire state, not a town, okay? This isn't me covering, well, a little town, somebody drove into a telephone pole, and then we can look and we could say, well, maybe the person hit the telephone pole or hit the power supply and then everybody lost power. And okay, it's a reasonable explanation. But they don't have a reasonable explanation because they never have one. They didn't give us a reasonable explanation when in 4 different states 911 was down a few months ago. Nobody was like, wait, why would it be down in Nevada and then be down all the way in another state that's nowhere near Nevada? This sounds a little suspicious. We had South Dakota all the way to Texas to Nevada. We had 911 outages. How is that all connected to each other? Well, they just told you it's temporarily down. We don't know why. But there's a chance that the boogeyman could be out there playing with the 911 electrical grid and everything else. So we got to be fearful of that. But if you don't remember, let me just show you the theme of so many of these films, which are very popular films that many people have seen because predictive programming is a conditioning mechanism. They show you this stuff ahead of time and desensitize you so that when it does really happen, they want you to think it's all conspiracy theory. Like people like me, we're just yelling about it, but that this really suddenly occurs in our society. Like this is a new normal thing that we're supposed to accept. And you might remember during these films, police, fire, emergency medical services were unavailable, right? Like in The Purge or in Leave the World Behind. Look.
Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be unavailable. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be unavailable. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be unavailable.
We are seeing ongoing cyber attacks across the country.
What just happened here is happening everywhere. We need to get to that bunker Danny told us about, and we need to get there now. You know something? I had a sneaking suspicion, but I wanted more information first. All the signs were there, sure, but I didn't want to scare anyone. Call me crazy because it is crazy. It would have made more sense if we were on the brink of an all-out invasion. I didn't think we'd actually let something like this happen. I thought we were smarter than that. My primary client works in the defense sector. I spent a lot of time cost-benefit analysis of military campaigns. There was one program in particular that terrified my client the most. A simple three-stage maneuver that could topple a country's government from within. The first stage was isolation. Disable their communication and transportation. Make the target as deaf, dumb, and paralyzed as possible. For the second stage, synchronized chaos. Terrorize them with covert attacks and misinformation. Overwhelming their defense capabilities, leaving their weapon systems vulnerable to extremists in their own military. Without a clear enemy or motive, people would start turning on each other. The third stage would happen on its own. What's the third stage? A coup d'etat. Civil war. Collapse. This program was considered the most cost-effective way to destabilize a country. Because if the target nation was dysfunctional enough, it would, in essence, do the work for you. Whoever started this wants us to finish it.
Wait now. All the roads are blocked. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do right now. I can barely do anything without my cell phone and my GPS. I am made useless, man.
So they are doing this obviously more and more now, right? So here's the story. The 911 system is down statewide in Massachusetts. The state 911 department has confirmed there's a disruption to the service and the cause is being investigated. Individuals who are experiencing an emergency are asked to contact the direct line for their local police department. We will provide further information as soon as it becomes available. An emergency alert sent to phones on Tuesday afternoon said 911 services are currently down statewide. Delays in public safety response may occur. Call local public safety business line directly if you or others are having an emergency. So what's the excuse going to be? Right? Did a plane crash into the power grid in Massachusetts, or are we supposed to believe that it's so hot out because it hit 90 degrees? Wow. I mean, that's insane. That's so crazy to think that it hit 90 degrees, that it's so hot people could croak, right? Remember, a couple years ago, people used to go on vacation to places like Hawaii before, of course, they lit it on fire, or Aruba, or the Caribbean. They'd go places where it was 100 degrees. They would seek 100-degree weather so that they could go there, lay out, get a tan, go in the water, have some drinks or have some good food. That's what people used to do in a normal world. 100 degrees was like, whoa, it's gonna be 100. I can't wait to go outside and play in the sprinklers or go in my pool or go down the shore. Well, today, of course, in this world order, when you hear that it's 100 degrees, you're supposed to hide. You're supposed to be fearful. And on top of all that, your government gets a free out to shut off emergency services and then tell you that it's a huge coincidence that it's so hot that a whole state just doesn't have 911 available right now, right? So this leads to what? This leads to more of the government coming in, of course, using things like this that they create to cause chaos. Using things like this not only to cause problems in people's day-to-day lives and fear in their day-to-day lives, but new infrastructure. Because remember, when I talk about new infrastructure, it means everything. Everything. Nothing remains the same. Have you noticed over the years that people actually text 911? Did you miss that wave where they were starting to tell people, hey, you know what? We're so clogged with so many calls at 911. Why don't you just text our automated system and we'll send an ambulance to your house? Well, the future is, guess what? It'll all be automated. You'll have a driverless ambulance. And of course, this stuff sounds out of the realm of possibility for most people, because some people literally could be living with Michael Myers and they wouldn't even see a murder coming. Michael Myers could be living in their guest room, wearing the mask, walking around the house, not speaking like Michael Myers does in the Halloween films. And some of these people are so blind that they would give him the benefit of the doubt. They'd be like, he's not as bad as people say. He's not bothering everybody. Look, he's up in his room all night. I don't know what he's doing, but come on, to think that he's a murderer. Because people out there are so naive and so dumbed down, and this mind control has worked so well on most of these sheeple. They actually look at people like you and me as enemies of the state. We're the threats to society because we think that things like this are not normal, because people can't seem to remember what they did yesterday. So it's very hard for them to remember how, 10 years ago, your government wasn't meddling to the degree they are now in our day-to-day lives. They think this is normal. For every day, for there to be stories of cyber attacks, power outages, 911 not working, trains derailing and dumping chemicals all over the place, the fear of the common cough, how you should lose your job if you won't inject yourself with poison, or if you speak out against the poison, you should lose the right to free speech on the internet. In fact, you should be thrown in prison in some places. And of course, if you question a certain group of people, well, that's a hate crime. All this has happened over the last decade. People just don't remember. They think that this is the new normal. So stories like this, when you hear it, especially if you're young and you're a teenager, like, what's the big deal? 911 is down, right? Why? Because the odds are you're probably, hopefully for your sake, not going to need to call 911 today. Okay, well, just imagine your grandma needs to call 911. Or just imagine, we need to just look at this entire situation as an opportunity to be free from them. So when they shut the grid off, which they will do, when they shut emergency services off like they're doing here and watching how people react to it, we need to look at it as an opportunity for people to get off technology, to get together and be able to solve these problems on their own. That's the one thing they don't want to come out of situations like this where they shut emergency services off. They want you to be screaming and nervous that something might happen to you and you need Big Brother to come in and send the ambulance. But what civilians should do, especially during a grid shutdown, is people should look around and say, you know what? We don't need them anymore. They're the ones who've not only caused this, they're the ones who have caused so much stress and anxiety and depression in everybody's lives. Let's shut them off completely. Let's start being self-dependent. Let's all start learning trades and living the way people used to live. Then we don't have to worry about the government shutting off 911, because then we have doctors in every town. We have EMT volunteers who don't need to go directly through emergency services. And then maybe we could just start separating ourselves from these people, because if we don't, they're just going to continue to do things like this to meddle in your life and psychologically, of course, cause not just damage to people, dependence. Because when people hear this stuff, whatever they come in with next and say, hey, we got to make sure we don't, we can't go offline again. We have to make sure 911 doesn't go down again, because that's what's going to come out of this. That's what comes out of these stories you hear month after month now with 911 going down. This is a repetitive story, right? Always look for patterns. Okay, here's a pattern. 911 has been going down a lot. It's never gone down before. It might have gone down in your town, like I said, if somebody drove into a telephone pole. But on a national level, 911 wasn't going out statewide, right? So we can see a pattern here, okay? And they're watching the pattern to see how people react to the pattern. But more specifically, they're going to come in and they're going to tell you that we need something new. We need new infrastructure. We need a new way for emergency services for you to be able to get in touch with emergency services. And believe it or not, eventually this is all inside your body, right? Remember the whole she's fallen and she can't get up? Ever see that? The old lady falls down, presses the panic button so 911 gets called because she fell on the floor. If you haven't seen it, you could look for it. It's an old video. They used to literally sell this to old people. If you fell out of your chair and no one was around, you had a little button that would call 911. Okay, do you see where I'm going with this for the future? With technology, where everything is online all the time? Because you're going to be online all the time. You ever walk in front of a Bluetooth, something connected to Bluetooth? No, if you haven't, try it, okay? Try putting your iPod, connecting it to a Bluetooth speaker and put stuff in front of it. Start waving metal poles in front of it. You walk in front of it. Your connection goes in and out, okay? The connection goes in and out, unless, of course, you're magnetized, which many people are, so they're pretty much Bluetooths in themselves. But if you put stuff in front of the object, it causes blockage between that connection, okay? They want to remove that blockage. And the only way they're going to be able to remove that blockage is if people have nanotechnology inside their body and everything's connected that way. Then you won't worry about 911 going offline. The only thing you'll have to worry about then is, of course, whether or not you've been hacked by the government. But of course, even though all of these rich people who tell everybody out there that we should all live in poverty, that we all need to watch our carbon footprint, they're all rich billionaires, they all go meet together, tell us what's in our best interest, even though they don't live that way. They're the ones telling us openly every time they meet at the World Economic Forum, at the Bilderberg meeting, at the G7 summit, they come out and they say what? They say, well, humans are hacked, you can hack humans. They're useless eaters. They're going to be not even worth anything in the future very, very soon because AI is more important and more dominant. So we're going to have the ability, and we do have the ability to hack humans. They're hackable animals. Those are all quotes from themselves, calling us hackable animals. Yet everybody still looks at one another. All of us peasants, we all look at each other, right? Not me specifically, but everybody out there who doesn't listen to this channel looks at each other and points a finger at each other based on what they do at the polls, who they vote for. Ooh, do they have a Ukraine flag up in there? That's how dumb these hackable animals have become. And these people are going to be able to push this stuff forward and get away with stuff like this out in the open. No one's going to even blink. No one's going to blink when they see this about 911. People in the state will, because they're like, oh my gosh, I hope something doesn't happen to me today, or my neighbor, oh, it's hot outside. But most people out there are so dumbed down and so desensitized. These stories that come out every day, they think that this is normal. They don't even think for a second how that's even possible for an entire state to be offline, to have 911 offline. They don't. They don't. And the government knows this. So we'll see what stories come out. Are they going to give us another cyber attack? Are they going to tell us that a boogeyman in Russia was so bored today that he was looking at a map of America and he's like, I hate the Boston Red Sox. He's like, the Boston Celtics just won the fake basketball thing. All right, let's shut down their 911 services today. See how they like that? I lost some money on the game. What do you think the motive is, right? Is that the story they'll tell us? Or are they going to tell us because it's so hot? Because it's in the 90s? Because it's never been in the 90s. Only in the 90s every single summer in Massachusetts. But are they going to tell us that it's too hot? That suddenly 911's not working, just like when they tell us there's not enough 911 operators, or they conveniently tell us, oh, there's not enough police anymore. Police forces can't send the police in the middle of the night. All these stories that they tell you, which are all done by design so they can come in with the solution as we head towards our AI governance. It's unbelievable. I mean, it really is. Look to the patterns. These are not normal situations. All of these wildfires, not normal. New Mexico now on fire, California again, Lahaina, not normal, okay? They're getting away with this stuff because they could literally put climate change or any of these heat waves on top of any story and convince people out there that's why. That's how easy it is for them now. They don't even need an explanation, but they can watch how you respond, and then eventually they can come in with the solution to make sure that 911's never offline again. But the real thing people should be doing is going, you know what? I'm watching the behavior of the Republicans, the Democrats in Congress. These people are scum bags, all of them, okay? What we should do is we should look at these people, watch their behavior, know their tree, the tree is known by its fruit, right? And we should figure out how to get independent of these people. We don't need 911. We don't need any of the stuff we pay taxes for because they're not held accountable, right? We all pay taxes. We should literally be given a document every single year. For anybody who pays tax, you should get a document that says this is what every single dollar you gave goes towards. And then you want to see it. You want to audit them. That's how a normal functioning society should work. But instead, everybody's just feared into paying the IRS, thinking that their money goes towards something, and then you're shamed if you don't pay, right? These people need to be defunded. These people need to be put in prison. And people need to wake up to their nonsense, like these 911 outages that we're seeing over and over and over again. At the same time, all these movies come out that they're preparing you for with their grid shutdown, which is coming. Okay, it is coming. Where they're telling you, hey, oh my goodness, the grid is down. And then, of course, I show you the clip from Leave the World Behind because Ethan Hawke's character is the epitome of how every human being is going to respond. They don't know how to function without their phone. That's why they're going forward now. That's why. Because anytime you have a problem, any person has a problem, the majority, what do? They Google search it. They don't know how to do anything on their own. And they go, well, I don't care. I don't know how to do this, but I could just Google search it. Oh, okay, right? They go, I'll go on YouTube. I'll find a how-to. I can't figure out how to, put my windows down in my car. Something's wrong with my car. I'll just go on YouTube, right? Always the answer for them. That's what they've wanted. You to become so dependent on technology that you're useless without it. That's how they gain control over you. That's what's coming. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always and your families. This is the United Uprising channel. Welcome to today's show. Whether you do or you don't like to watch the videos that I do on music videos or things in pop culture, I highly recommend you watch this one because it is so unbelievable. It's actually topped my expectations. This newest Lil Nas X blasphemy video, it's more than just blasphemy. Okay, and I'll tell you a little hint, a little spoiler alert as I break down the video for you. We actually get into the video having the Ark of Baphomet. Okay, the Ark of Baphomet. And Baphomet flooding the earth, in a sense, because that's what this is really about in this inverted satanic culture that we're living in. So I'm going to break down this video right now for you. And if you didn't see, I actually covered, before this video came out, I did a video talking about just the picture that he put up of Lil Nas X himself on a crucifix, being crucified, okay? And people out there weren't even in an uproar about that. I didn't even know that a music video was to come. I thought it was just going to be one of those songs that comes out where they have a picture and they just play the song. But we got a music video here, and this could be his most blasphemous. In my opinion, it's one of the most wicked videos I've seen in a long time, maybe the most ever. So let's break down the entire video. So let me just give you the whole step-by-step here. I go over to see, after actually covering it, knowing that the single was going to drop, to see what the lyrics were of the song, but I'm not even going to get into the lyrics of the song. I go over and I see on his page, let's start with this, Lil Nas X's, I don't know if this is new or not, but this is how in our faces this stuff is. Lil Nas X's avatar, right? So that's like his channel logo. You know how mine is the pyramid burning with a pitchfork, or in this case, a knife going through it? For people out there that are new to it who are like, why do you use the symbol? It's destroying the symbol. It's burning, crying, literally has a knife through the eyeball. So, that's what my avatar logo means. But Lil Nas X, not even putting his face out there so people know it's his channel. He puts an eyeball as his logo. It's only because he's a failed optometrist. He loves eyes, just like all of these wicked people in Hollywood. They just are fascinated with eyeballs. Right? They have eyeball fetishes, but not in the way, of like looking at someone saying, wow, they have really beautiful eyes. I just love one eye. Just one. Of course, that's the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. They tell you these things through signs and symbols. They constantly reveal themselves. So Lil Nas X, J. Christ is the name of the song, as I covered. And of course, the video starts off with a staircase. This is their Freemasonic staircase. Of course, Christians will see in the back, it's a staircase to heaven. It's stairway to heaven, right? Well, wait till you see the actual gate that they're climbing up to, or should I say the Tower of Babel. But it starts with that. You see the staircase, and then he depicts what are supposed to be celebrities. For anyone out there that wasn't able to figure that out, it's pretty obvious. All of these wicked celebrities who are self-righteous on this earth, all heading up the ladder. From Kanye West, it's supposed to be Kanye. Even Michael Robinson, Michelle Obama getting on board the ship with Barry Soetoro, Barack Obama as they board, right? Even heading up the staircase to heaven. And of course, then you see this big tower, which looks a lot like the Tower of Babel, if you ask me. And of course, look at the pearly gates. Let's start there, right? As they're up the pearly gates, what is that? You see it, that's Baphomet, okay? This is a symbol of Baphomet. That's what that symbol is. You see the horns, and it goes down to the ears, and that's the Baphomet. So heading to heaven, really Baphomet's heaven. And what do we see up there? Well, we see Lil Nas X, of course, with his long fingernails, because this is your modern male, ladies out there. I feel awful for the women out there. This is your modern day male. He has the Baphomet tattoo right on his palm. He has the word sexy on it. This is sexy. Oh, man. But anyway, not only that, of course, as you see some of the celebrities I pointed out earlier. You get Michael Jackson is walking around in this version of heaven, which is obviously clearly an inversion of heaven, because none of these people would get there. And by the way, you don't get there even if you're a nice person. Specifically, you ain't getting there if you're a celebrity, because we all know they worship the devil. But they put Michael Jackson in there as well. So all these creeps are up in heaven. And then they show you what's going on down in hell. And Lil Nas X is down in hell. And what's Lil Nas X doing? Well, he's cooking. He's cooking a meal, obviously, for all his fellow demons down there. What's he cooking? Oh, no big deal. It's just the flesh of human beings. No big deal. It just looks like a bunch of arms and legs. And, that's, it's just normal. They show us this stuff all the time, right? I mean, I just covered this and got a strike for bullying Doja Cat, right? And she was cooking up some human flesh as well, because they're always cooking up human flesh, because that's what they feast off of. So in hell, of course, we have the burning of humans, the eating of humans. Why wouldn't we? Then we get Lil Nas playing some type of basketball. It's like a Roman Coliseum theme with Lucifer, right? He's going one-on-one with Lucifer, and Lucifer and him are standing there, and we see his shoes. And of course, these are the shoes that I covered over the years. Lil Nas X's shoes, if you're not familiar, have the pentagram, have the Baphomet symbol on it. I don't know if this is his new actual logo. It wouldn't surprise me. People would be so stupid. They'd be like, that doesn't mean Baphomet. It means Lil Nas X. I mean, at this point, the people will believe whatever they hear, and they will defend their false idols to the death. So you all see Luke 10:18 on there, the verse from the Bible that talks about Lucifer falling from heaven. The specific verse is, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. That's the verse. That's why we see these celebrities and these musicians specifically using lightning bolts in their logos. So he's wearing that. Then we get Lil Nas X crucified upside down. So now we just start heading towards the massive blasphemy. So, crucified upside down. Of course, we know Peter was crucified upside down. The inversion of the cross. So they're mocking you right to your face, also wearing the crown of thorns. Then he's depicted upright, and everybody's screaming as if he's the Messiah and the Christ, which is exactly what these false idols believe that they are. And of course, there'll be Christians who say, I don't worship Lil Nas X. And I've already gotten comments, and I've seen people commenting that they know Christians who have said exactly what I've said in my videos about how Christians will say, who are you to judge? That's what they always like to say, right? Even though they don't know, a tree, you'll know a tree by its fruits. They don't know those verses because they offend the idols, because they love the idols. And then they say, I don't worship these idols. And of course they do. So mocking the crucifixion right in front of us. Of course, if this was any other faith or depiction of any other religious figure, and of course, Christ isn't a religious figure. He's the King of Kings. He is the only true God. But if there was anyone else, it would be canceled. It would be blasted all over the place. The only religion you could the only thing you can mock when it comes to religion is Christianity. That's the only thing. It's not cancelable. Nobody goes in uproar about it. That's because this is a war between God and the devil and all these other deities or demons that these people end up worshiping, like Buddha, etc. So then they cut to him just wearing some of his demonic garb, referencing the Met Gala, which I've covered over the years. And the next part, this is where it's really important to note, okay? So this just shows you also how fake the news is. Okay, so this video came out on 1:11 midnight, sometime around there. So it came out right now as you're watching this, right? So you have a woman sitting on the sofa watching the propaganda news. What do you see on the TV? Global flood warning, which is about to get into the whole thing with the Ark of Baphomet. But take note here, the global flood warning, right? Look at the picture on the screen. Does this picture look familiar? Okay, this music video just came out. This picture is from the mainstream media, specifically on the cover of CNN. Luckily, I had a screenshot grab because I was going to do a video about it, but I never got around to it because there's so much content to do every day. I don't have enough time. But this is a headline from CNN. More monster waves to slam California coast. Powerful storms in the Pacific are driving towering waves into the coastline, triggering flooding and pushing a significant risk to people and structures. And of course, they were talking about this like, comparing it to global warming. So they have that right there, global flood warning with your global warming, propaganda that they have to put in there. But how about the photo? Do you know how long it takes to make an actual music video? There's YouTubers who make videos. It takes them like 2 weeks to edit a video, etc. It takes them a while. I'm not saying it takes me 2 weeks, but, YouTubers who have like real production quality videos, etc. A music video takes a long time to make. They don't make movies and music videos in a week. This came out 2 weeks ago, not even. It was 2 weeks ago this past weekend. So it was probably about 12 days ago that article that I just showed you was out there. That's the same exact photograph on the screen from that CNN article. Are you going to tell me that they went back in and they re-edited just because they wanted that specific picture in there? Somebody was watching that in real time at home, was like, oh my goodness, that picture is so crazy. Let's go back and re-edit the entire video, because the video was done. It was in the can. Okay? They don't finish a video and then go, we're going to release it in a couple days. There's a whole process behind it. They got to go through it. They got to re-edit it, re-look at it, make sure, and then they have to have announce dates, all this other stuff, right, that goes into the process. So they clearly, so what I'm telling you is that this photo is a staged photo. Clearly, it's a staged photo. It's something that they produced in a Hollywood studio. Right? Produced in Hollywood studio. All these people, and it does look fake. I mean, that's what I was going to do the video on. Now, we know they could do these things very easily, specifically on the coast. We know HAARP and stuff, they can create weather modification, but they could really create these types of things, these mini like tsunamis that'll flood the coast. All they could do is do a shock out, couple 100 yards out into the ocean, not even that far out. So they can do those things, so there's no doubt about that. But this looks like a stage photo, right? All these people are just running, sprinting as the waves are behind them. And that's the exact photo that Lil Nas used in the video. So it clearly shows you it's a staged photo, that these pictures are taken well in advance. They're made in a Hollywood studio. That's what this tells us, right? Look at them side by side. It's a headline on CNN 2 weeks ago, and it's in a music video. What did he was just like, oh, I had this whole idea for a script about Baphomet's Ark, and then I saw this news clip. I mean, there's no time for them to do this. It's 2 weeks ago. So this is a pre-planned photograph. Doesn't surprise any of us who are obviously awake. So then we go into this, right? We go into him he's depicting Noah leading all the animals onto the boat. You could see the logo onto the boat because they're saying another flood is coming. Now, this is blasphemous in so many different ways, right? After that, obviously, God promised to never flood the earth again. Now, many times over, I've been up at night wishing that God would break that promise. I think a lot of us have thought that, right? Maybe God, did you mind flooding the earth one more time of all this wickedness? I mean, maybe some of us would even be willing to be in that flood just to get this, some of this filth, these reprobates off the earth. But God obviously promised he would never flood the earth again. Now, what are we seeing here depicted? This is not obviously Noah's Ark. This is Baphomet's Ark. It's a Baphomet's logo on it, right? So we get to the Ark. The Ark is out in the water. And, now we see all of these reprobates dancing. I'll get back to the Ark in a minute. Well, you see all these reprobates dancing as the lightning's falling. Lucifer's fall, it's referencing. You see on the screen, it says, Lord, help me, for I am at war. Right? And we are at war. We're at spiritual war, and the majority of our society doesn't even know it. And these are the people we're at war with. These influencers and demons are the ones who have destroyed the morals in our society. They've destroyed the minds of the masses because they're living in an altered reality that these people are fabricating and creating through magic, flat out magic, right? So then what's interesting is over on the sign here, you'll see it says Lithium Springs, right? Now, somebody will probably look it up and be like, hey, where's Lil Nas? Is that where he's born? Right? Because he's born in Lithia, Georgia. So it's nothing to do with that, right? Lithium Springs. So you say to yourself, okay, Lithium Springs. Well, we know lithium. There's two meanings, in my opinion, of this. You have lithium batteries, which the whole earth is going to run on. The enslaved system will run on lithium. And we all remember from The Matrix, the infamous scene, a lot of people never understood it with the battery. I've broken it down before, how they're going to turn you into that. Remember, he says in The Matrix, holds the battery up to turn you into this, right? This transhumanism. Right, turning human beings into batteries. This is everything that's going on right now, right? But what's interesting to note, not just the word lithium springs, you may have heard of lithium springs, hot springs. Do you know what lithium springs smell like? You can look it up for yourself. They smell like sulfide, which is sulfur, okay? So most of you out there are familiar with the fact that these demons, right, you could smell them. They smell like sulfur. Remember some of the times in the past I've covered Obama talking about, I smell like sulfur, etc.
And I mean that literally, by the way. I was reading the other day, there's a guy on the radio who apparently Trump's on his show frequently. He said, me and Hillary are demons. Said we smell like sulfur. Ain't that something? Now, I mean, come on, people. Democracy does not work if you just say stuff like that. Or, and apparently there are people who believe that stuff.
Right? Well, the demons, these things, these non-human entities smell like sulfur. Okay? So there's a reference there to sulfur. And of course, you can look at Little Nas X and know Little Nas X is likely a demon walking the earth. So then we go back to the ship, right? And there's a couple things to note here. He's raising the flag of Baphomet, defying God up to the sky, right? So the Baphomet flag is flying up right as the sun is, piercing through the clouds. That's supposed to depict God. And they're depicting themselves, giving the middle finger to God and saying that they're actually the ones now flooding the earth. And in a sense, that's part of the tone of this, the messaging of this, right? Of him flooding the earth. Because you might say, what are they, just mocking flooding the earth? Well, God flooded the earth, right? To rid the earth of the wickedness on the earth, right? We could all agree on that? Okay. So they're depicting here exactly what's going on now. They're trying to rid the earth of us. They're trying to rid the earth of Christianity. They're trying to rid the earth of human beings, God's creation. And they're doing it in a lot of different ways, right? We know the sixth mass extinction is underway that they openly talk about. The only thing that people don't realize is that they're the ones who are extincting humans, whether it's them, tricking them into poisoning themselves, right? Or all other things they're doing to us with geoengineering from the skies, hitting us with weaponized weather, right? So they're pretty much saying, this is what they're referencing. This is what Little Nas X and his handlers are referencing. God wants flood the earth to rid the earth of people like Little Nas X, reprobates, right? That's what the flood was. It was literally to rid the earth of Little Nas X, okay? And all these other demons in Hollywood. And, not just them, but all the people who are behaving as in the days of Noah, right? And they're doing it out in the open now. So God rid the earth of those things, and now those things are back. And they're saying, we're going to rid the earth, the Baphomet Ark. We're going to rid the earth of your creation, of your people. And it goes on to say at the end, they have the audacity to mock the Bible. Because, of course, all it takes, when we talk about how easy it is to deceive Christians, all it takes, literally, is for one of these Satanists to put up a verse from the Bible. And they're like, oh, they put up a verse from the Bible, so they must be Christian, right? They don't realize that they read the Bible and they invert the Bible. So Little Nas X puts up 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come, right? And it's a mockery of Scripture. He's not sitting here going, oh, anyone is Christ is a new creation. They're talking about ridding the earth of God's creation. And they're the new creation because these are a new hybrid race of human beings, that their genetic codes are being altered. And a lot of people out there's genetic codes are already altered and they don't even realize it, right? So it's a new creation. So they put this out there. And how many Christians actually see this? And they're like, Little Nas X even put a Bible verse in there. I guarantee there'll be some that are like, Mr. Unite Uprising, you didn't put a Bible verse. I do. I don't do it. I do it when I feel led to do it in my videos. But anyway, that's all it takes to trick these Christians, is to put a verse in, and they'll go, he's a Christian, right? They ignore all this stuff about wolves and sheep's clothing. They ignore all the verses that there'll be those who say they know me and do not, right? And this couldn't be more disrespectful or blasphemous to a Christian, and there's literally Christians who will defend it because this ties into the Communist Manifesto with how they've weakened down people. They've obviously weakened down Christians through what I've talked about in the past, the evangelical movement. It was designed to weaken Christians, not only to create a stereotype of Christians. You're supposed to be cookie cutter. You're supposed to sound a certain way. How many people have you heard who rip into me? They're like, he doesn't sound Christian. Oh, I didn't know that there was a way you're supposed to sound. Oh, that would be mind control. Oh, because I don't sound like the guys on TV in a suit, right? Last I checked, I didn't see Peter wearing a suit. Did you? Did you see any of the disciples wearing suits? Oh, well, suits didn't exist, but oh, okay. And I didn't read scripture where they were walking around giving everyone hugs and singing Kumbaya. Last I checked, John the Baptist wasn't too thrilled about what was going on. And neither were the disciples. But in modern day Christianity, they want you to look towards a certain Christianity because that Christianity will herd you. People like me, and I don't claim to be a church or a pastor or anything like that. I'm just a guy who loves God, who follows our King of Kings, who is saved by the blood of Jesus Christ, who repents daily, like every Christian should do. That's who I am, okay? Just a guy recording videos, having trouble getting them uploaded because I'm not allowed to speak, okay? But I'm not going to sit here and sound the way that they tell me to sound. They want you to sound a certain way. They want you to act a certain way because they know for lots of reasons it waters down the church. It makes Christians, feel more comfortable going to lukewarm Christianity. It doesn't mean everyone who speaks softly isn't a real Christian. I'm not saying that, okay? What I'm saying is that they've created a shell in people's minds of what the church is supposed to sound like. And all churches would say, oh, well, Little Nas X is saved because he says he's saved. And they'd see this video and they'd be like, well, it's just art, right? And they go on and on and on. They defend these people. These are the people responsible for everything wrong in the world. Everyone looks at just the politicians. These are the ones who are molding the minds of the youth out there with their poison that they put out on a daily basis. So Little Nas X can get away with this stuff, of course, because you're allowed to mock God. You're allowed to make a Baphomet ark. You're allowed to say, we're going to flood the earth again, but we're going to do it our way. We're going to use HAARP to flood the earth. We're going to use weather modification to flood the earth and then rid the earth. Think about some of the stuff I've been saying about, herding people into honeypots, right? Well, if you get all Christian conservatives in specific states, then you hit it with HAARP, could flood them out, couldn't you? Kill them off with a big flood, right? Then you could blame God and say, well, God promised not to flood the earth again. I mean, all sorts of things they could do here. These things are wicked things. They're not human that walk among us. And it's bullying, so I have to be careful what I say. I mean, it's already hurt all the work that I've done, how much they've taken my work away, taken channels away. I see people tweeting and saying, like, where is that guy? They got to him, or they got rid of him, or, and that's how they're defeating me, is by that. So I'm trying to work as hard as I can to get all this type of content back out to everybody out there, because these people are cowards. The devil is a coward, and so are his minions. They present themselves as bad and tough. They're weak and frail. They're weak and frail, and they want Christians to be weak and frail. People like us could steamroll over these Satanists, okay? Their influential power only exists because the devil's given it to them, and they're doing his bidding. They have no talent, okay? They have no talent, and they're frail, weak, pathetic beings. We all need to stick together as far as fighting against all the censorship and everything else they're trying to do. And I hope, this channel in some way has given other people out there, I don't want to be, or say something like inspiration, but I hope it's given people out there a backbone, a backbone so that they're not afraid to fight back. They're not afraid to get censored and keep fighting. And when they say they're going to cancel you, you just go, that's impossible. I'll just keep coming back. Exactly. That's what we all should be doing. So just to recap here, Little Nas X with his all-seeing eye logo now, he goes on to invite all the wicked on, telling us all the wicked are heading to heaven. Kanye, the Sartoro family, Obama's, Michael Jackson, the gates of heaven supposedly have the Baphomet, which tells you it's inverted. Down in hell, he goes to cook up some humans and play one-on-one in basketball with Lucifer as he's on an upside-down cross, as they show us the image of the global flood warming that was right off of Warning, which was right off of CNN, the photograph from CNN 2 weeks ago. And you're going to tell me, you're going to sit here, you're going to tell me that this isn't staged? You're going to say that they went in and edited it, that they saw that clip and were like, it's so perfect, let's go in and read it. Oh, absolutely. It's staged. The news is staged, just like the music videos. It's scripted. Right? And then, of course, we have his ark, the Ark of Baphomet, flooding the earth again as they put scripture in, mocking all Christians. Unbelievable. One of the most ridiculous videos I have ever seen. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless all of you, as always, and your families. This is the United Uprising channel. Welcome to today's show. Statues and architecture are something that is very overlooked in our society. We're taught and trained to look at art, statues, things in